Assalamu alaikum. Sulaiman Rahim here. Welcome. Let's slay some demons. Sisters and brothers and sisters, just a few things to talk about. You know, these are very powerful times, more powerful than I think many of you know. This is on the same score as the beginning of the creation. The universe expands and contracts, without end. There was no beginning, no ending. Right? It's all mathematics. So the first God initiated the expansion. As the Quran says, the heavens and earth were one, and he expanded it. He was alone, right? And then he reproduced himself. See, he was genderless. The separation of the male and female came later. And we'll talk about that a little bit maybe. And as a process expanding, it's get to the point where it has to start contracting. And the turnaround cycle is 6,000 years because it expands, but to go from the expansion cycle to the contraction cycle is from the expansion phase to the contraction phase is a 6,000 year period to make that transition. And that 6,000 years will be energy deprivation because during that period of time, almost all the energy that was on the earth is out there now. So that means that here on the earth, at that point in time, we suffer the least amount of energy we ever had. It's called energy deprivation. During that 6,000 year period, transition period. And then the contraction phase starts. That means all energy starts coming back to the earth. As the Quran says, it's momentous in the heavens and the earth, but it comes you but of a sudden. It says the energy comes back, right? It's saturated into earth. Earth is, right? Absorbed by the earth. Earth converts it to a form we can use, right? And then we're energized, and that keeps happening approximately every 50 years, called Jubilees in the Bible, until we get back to full contraction. And there's only the one God left. He's the only one to go all the way, right? And then the cycle repeats itself again. So where it was one God, or one individual, right? And if you want to call it the beginning of the expansion cycle, there's many on the beginning of the contraction cycle. That's where we are right now. That's why the scripture says, right? The scriptures tell you that Suleiman would have the power to make you sons and daughters of God. Sons and daughters of God. They talk about 144,000. See? So it's on the same par as the beginning, because now, right, the creation is in a contraction cycle, and that means we're going to take what we have right now, right? Once we're going to take and we're going to make all things new and continue on. It is better and better and better and better, all the way back to the point at an expansion cycle when all the energy out there is here again. Can you imagine how much energy we had back then? If you understand scripture, we're fiery beings, we're fierce beings, large beings, powerful beings. They talk about the dinosaurs. We're so powerful that a dinosaur to us would be like a puppy. We're so powerful that a dinosaur to us would have been like a little puppy or something. We had so much energy, so much wisdom. That's the first God. And then he reproduces himself. So that's why he had many, millions. But it started out with one. So now we have billions of people on the planet. See? And it's going to end up in the trillions once we go out into the universe that we prepare for 76 trillion years. 76 trillion years, we're preparing the universe. Like I said, a garden that's been prepared for you. A garden as wide as the heavens and the earth. It wouldn't be a garden if we couldn't get out there. So that all out there is ours. It's already been prepared. Those planets are habitable. And many of you will live on those planets. Many of you will rule those planets. Many of you will be the gods on those planets. Trillions of them. So what does this all mean? What is a prophet? A prophet is someone that prophesies. He tells what happened in advance. And so all the prophets prior, right, prior to Suleiman, because he's also considered as a prophet, right, were given prophecies, and they went and repeated the prophecy that was given. See, that was a normal. They was given a prophecy. They was told in a vision or whatever, like Prophet Muhammad, right? He was given the Quran, given a prophet, and they went out and right, and then it was told to behave in a certain way. They was given laws, right? A certain way to carry yourself. Right? They were never given the wisdom. They were just given the knowledge of, okay, you need to walk this way, which was called righteousness. See, and each prophet got different rules depending on the time they were in. See, Prophet Muhammad taught Islam that Prophet Jesus didn't teach. Prophet Jesus taught Islam that Musa before him didn't teach. He taught a wisdom Islam that Abraham didn't teach. It's all Islam, but it's different phases of it. Because if that was the case, then Prophet Muhammad wouldn't have, all he had to do is restore what Prophet Jesus did, but he didn't, right? Prophet Jesus didn't teach about saying 5 prayers a day and a Ramadan. There's nothing in the Bible about that, nothing. Because that wasn't for that time. See, that's why these people, they all, oh man, they don't know what they're talking about. See, because they think that their tradition, right? Their tradition that they're doing, right, is forever. See, they found a tradition. They say, oh, that's what it's always going to be. Like that's where it always has been. See? So, as far as the Sunnis are concerned, oh, well, 5 prayers, that's where it's always going to be. Their Ramadan, which is wrong, that's where it's always going to be. See? So, those are rituals. And rituals depend on the time you're in. You have a different ritual in winter than you do in summer. You act a different way. You can't act in the summer as you do in the winter, or vice versa. See? So, Prophet Muhammad gave you, say Elijah Muhammad didn't follow that ritual. Elijah Muhammad didn't follow that ritual because Master Prophet Muhammad didn't follow that ritual either. These clowns trying to tell you he prayed and all that stuff. That's a lie. He did not. Elijah Muhammad said he did not. He said he paced back and forth for 6 to 8 hours a night reciting history of the Quran. Anyway, that's another story. So they're given the way to walk, and they're given a prophecy, which is the prophecy is actually a weapon. See? That's the most powerful weapon. See? Because a prophecy come true, it's the most powerful weapon. Because he tells a person, hey, you're going to do, the idea of a war, right, is to win, right? Well, if you're already telling that you're going to win before you even, that's more powerful. If it's right, it's true, because you've defeated their morale and everything else. What I'm trying to say, brothers and sisters, Because as it says, Suleiman will be giving you the power to be sons and daughters of God, which means he's making profits. That's what it said in Injil about 144,000. Once you upload it and start uploading the Injil, and you start, because he's giving you the book of prophecy. See, that no prophet ever did that before. I mean, they gave people a book, but they didn't give people a book to go out and to understand the prophecy, to be the prophets. In other words, they can go in there and turn themselves into prophets. Because think about it, if you go out there and you start Injil, right, you're a prophet. Because it's telling you everything that's going to happen and you go figure it out for yourself. The deeper you get in there, because I've been telling you, I haven't took and book all the riddles. It's impossible for me to do all the riddles. It would take more than, it took 30 years to get to this point. It would take me now 60 years to start break every riddle in, because it's not just for me to do it. See? Because it was meant for 144,000 to do it. They all work together once they got the way, once they learned how to do it, once they was taught how to do it. So when you go and teach a child multiplication, then you have to go in and solve a multiplication problem for them. They know how to do it now. So they know their times tables, right? And then you go out there and have to multiply 5 times 8 times 7, right, or something like that. They should be able to do that. But now they gave them the basis. So once you start understanding Injil, it means you're a prophet, male or female. And then on top of that, then you're given the wisdom. None of the prophets ever given the wisdom. Prophet Muhammad wasn't given the wisdom. He was told this is the way you're supposed to walk. This is the way you're supposed to walk. But he wasn't told the science behind five mathematical pillars of Islam. He was not given that science. Elijah Muhammad calls Islam a science. He calls it the science of Islam. They wasn't given that. Neither was Elijah Muhammad. They wasn't given that. Farah came with it, but he didn't give it. Neither Elijah Muhammad didn't give it. Because he never taught the mathematical principles behind 5 pillars of Islam, and that's the basis of Islam. That's the whole, and that's why they call it the 5 pillars. That means the whole basis. If you understand that, you understand Islam, because that's what Islam stands on. It's the basis of, that's the root of it. So that makes you greater than the prophets. Make you greater than the prophet. Any prophet before you, any prophet before me makes you greater. What does the angel says? It says, I mean, the Bible says, it says, no man born of the womb, right? Elijah's greatest man ever born from a woman. So he's the greatest man ever born from a woman. But he said, even the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than him. It says, even the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than him. What does that mean? I'm trying to get you to understand, brothers and sisters, who you are and what you are. Because if you got, that means you're a prophet. Now what you do is up to you. You got the wisdom and the book. Isn't that what Abraham said? Give him the wisdom and the book. So you got the book, that's the prophecy, and the wisdom is the 5 pillars of Islam, 5 mathematical pillars of Islam. And if you study the book, right, and then you got how you're supposed to walk, the wisdom, then you're a prophet, male or female. And not only that, but you got something else all the prophets never had. You got Elijah Muhammad, and he didn't even call himself a prophet. He's the only one who had the world stage. And he doesn't have the world stage like you have it, because he didn't have the internet. He didn't have Facebook. He didn't have Instagram. He didn't have YouTube. He didn't have all these different things. He didn't have that. But you do. What's that? Podcast? That's another one. Where you can go out there and set up your own radio station. He didn't have that. So you got the book, the wisdom, and the whole world is your audience. Are you understanding, brothers and sisters? I'm trying to make it clear to you. There's so much I can talk to you about. Like I said, it's sometimes something to slip my mind because I say, what I need to talk to you about? I think most of you missing that. I miss most of you because based on what I'm hearing from some of you, you don't understand who you are. You're a prophet, a prophetess. If you upload the Injil and you studying the you studying the 5 pillars, 5 fundamental pillars of Islam, and you applying them, then you're a prophet or you're a prophetess. You're great any prophet before you. That's if you do something with it. See? Because remember, I mean, if you're doing it, obviously if you're doing the Hajj, that means you're doing something with it. Because having it is one thing, you got to do something with it. Because you got to go out. That's who you are. And you got the whole world to work with. The entire world. All this electronic stuff. You can talk, I mean, all kinds of ways you communicate that Elijah never had. Because you're the gods, you're the prophet and prophetess that's bringing in, right? You're equivalent to the first God. Because we're the gods that's bringing in a new creation. And said it'd be 144,000 all total. You better think about that, brothers and sisters. Because those of you who understand Injil means you know what's about to happen. And you know how to study it to find out more about what's happening. Because I already showed you how to read it. So now you can go and look more. You can look deeper. You look deeper and see more things that maybe I haven't told you about, or maybe I haven't even looked into yet. You understand, brothers and sisters? You go as deep as you want. And you're prophesizing. You say, oh, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. No. And not only that, not only do you have that, right? But you have something else that prophets didn't have. See? You got the wisdom of the creation. Pressure. Because you can prophesy just based on pressure. And when you understand pressure, you got the mathematics. In other words, what I'm telling you. So now you got the book, you got the wisdom, you got the whole world as your audience, and then you can see God. Other prophets never could see God. Only one ever was able to see God was for Elijah Muhammad. But he saw God in the person. But he see the God, right? The spirit. He never saw that. That's the mathematics. And you're the only ones ever seen that, except for the scientists. Because that's the mathematics. Remember, Elijah Muhammad said that himself. Islam is mathematics and mathematics. So now you see, because mathematics is the spirit of Allah. You have the original nation, that's the Father. You got the supreme being of the original nation, that's the Son. And you got the Spirit, which is mathematics, all mathematics. And now you're able to see mathematics, see God. It says, remember, the pure heart will see God. Is it coming clear to you, brothers and sisters? So you're more powerful. So if those of you looking down on yourself, do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? It says you make you sons and daughters of God. Those that listen to him, he would make them, he had the power to make them sons and daughters of God. Do you have any idea who you are and what you're doing and what you're bringing in? You're equivalent of the first God. Because many of us now, with one then, but many of us not, because that's the nature of the creation. And we talk about that a little bit. But I need you to understand that, brothers and sisters. Do you understand what's going on here? And it says what? It says the first God, he went to war with the darkness. Right? That was the universal darkness. Right? No light, no stars, anything. But we're going to war with the darkness too. Spiritual darkness, evil darkness in people. And we're going to war with them. And it's worse, it's total triple darkness. It's total triple darkness. And we're right in the middle of it. And we're going to war with it. And we're going to win. And we are winning. Brothers and sisters, do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? Do you have any understand all? Because a lot of them going to become, a lot of them will start grabbing onto you in a minute. Because it's getting clearer and clearer and clearer. See? You get little hints. I'm getting little hits all every now and then. People, they stick their nose in and take a peek. It's okay. No, cow must stick his nose up under the tent, right? After a while, he be walking in, he's looking at it first, see if it's safe. They say, no, he's knocking the tent down, getting in it. Understand, brothers and sisters? Hope you understand. I think I'm just going to stay there. I'm just going to go to another topic. I'm going to stay, well, maybe out a little bit. We need to understand how the creation works, brothers and sisters. And I'm going to be brief about it. I've talked about it in the past. But the Quran tells you in the beginning there was one, small life came. So if it was one, that means it wasn't a male and female, right? It was genderless. The first individual was genderless. We see right now, males have breasts, they don't need them. So if you look at the first male, I mean, not the first male because it wasn't male. The first being, right? He probably looked more like a female because he had to reproduce himself. He had to have breasts, all of that. Reproduce himself. And this went on for a long time. There was millions of them. See, so I'm trying to put little things in, with those you study, heard about Elijah Muhammad, and heard about what he taught about the moon and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to try to fill in the blanks for you a little bit. So when he reduced himself, what he produced was almost a 99.9% identical copy of himself because it's just him. So the difference was you couldn't even notice it. It looked like it might as well have been a twin. And this went on for trees of years. It was like, and it spread out because remember, we was building, started putting everything together, started turning formlessness into form, energy, with the world of darkness. And by that time, the difference between some of us was much greater than 99.9%. Some of us, 80%, 70%. See, because so many, they got the difference, it kept little bit at a time, right? And the thing is, as the universe expands, that's tension. See, tension is opposite of pressure. So that means energy is going away. So when tension pulls things apart. So tension is a little bit at first, right? So it pulls a little bit apart, just a little bit, right? So that's us. So the first thing we do, we start making the microbes, a little bit. See, came from us, all that's in us, came from us. But by doing that, we make ourselves more distinct. See, we make ourselves more distinct as we start taking things from ourselves. Right? So little things at first, see, and it got more complicated. You got the microbes, the viruses, the bacteria, and all that kind of stuff. Then you get to plant life. See, a little more complicated after billions of years. See, and we become more distinct beings. And this went on for about 6 trillion years, because according to Elijah Muhammad, 6 trillion years ago, right? That's when the moon was established. And he says the problem was the issue there was that people, there was this God that wanted everybody to speak the same language. And they wouldn't do it, so he decided to blow up the planet. That's very simplistic. And we're not that stupid. So Elijah Muhammad, what he's saying, it was not wrong. It's just that all the blanks wasn't filled in. It's more behind that. You have to look behind what's going on. Because nobody's going to blow up the whole planet because people don't speak the same language. Right? So why does people speak? What was the language problem? Why was there a problem with the language? Because you got to understand the underlying thing behind that. Because as that's the creation. In other words, as the tension builds up, the relief tension, like if you have a rubber band and you pull it, it gets under tension. But if a piece breaks off, then everybody relaxes again. Both pieces, now you got 2 pieces, but both of them relax until you start pulling again. And the same thing happens again. And tension comes, piece comes off, a bigger piece this time, right? And then comes off, then everything relaxes. That's the creation process. And so therefore it gets more complicated, until where we're right now, we got to the point where we created beings almost identical like us. See, went from microbes to plant life, to fish life, to reptiles, right? The mammals, right? And then a being that's almost like us. That's why the archaeological record is correct. They look back and they say, man, well, the oldest things are the microbes, right? And then the fish, then the plants, and then yeah, that's right. But it didn't mean they evolved from the microbes. It means that's the process because they take us out of the equation. That's why they can't understand it. And if they did understand it, still wouldn't admit it. So the last part of this process is bring the being out of us that's almost like us, mankind. But along the way, that's why you have a lot of microbes, a lot of fish, a lot of different things back there that's genderless. You still have a lot of different organisms that's genderless because that's where we started out. You know, just like you take what germs, a lot of them just reproduce themselves. They don't make no gender. Just just reproduce themselves. Just split in half. But 66 trillion years ago, it got to the point where there was a lot of distinctions. We was more distinct. We was almost exact copies before that. But like I said, it became so many that we had differences. See, and attention was pulled. Tension was getting greater and greater and greater until a scientist says, well, to relieve this tension, right? We need to actually separate ourselves into male and female gender. So how are you going to do that? See, I was explaining to one brother, you mean we was homosexual? I mean, I mean, if that first thing popped in your mind, that either you don't have a mind or that's your inclination. You don't own your mind, or no. What he said is that because at that time, we had 4 chromosomes, right? Because we had the chromosomes from both men, but they was evenly matched. See, evenly matched. So therefore, when a child was born, male and female both was equally matched. So the child was always genderless. They call them hermaphrodites. See, genderless. But now you have distinctions between one person and another person. If you take the sperm from one person, because see, each individual had sperm and egg in them, but they was evenly matched. The chromosome evenly matched, so one could not dominate the other. So the child always came out both. See, called hermaphrodites. See, you have hermaphrodites born now, but they go crazy and everything because they're out of season. They can't live in this time. See, they say what they call them freaks and carry on. Anyway, but now you got such distinction out here. If you could take the sperm from one person and put it in another person, right? Medically, medically, right? Then you fertilize the egg from another, right? Then what happens? Now one can dominate the other. So that means the child will come out either male or female. That's how he did it. But what happens is that the new being, the male, he was stronger than the genderless male. Well, he wasn't a male, a genderless person. He's stronger because now he's stronger. See? And the ones, that was the gender at that time. The gender at that time was the ones that refused to go in that process. We didn't go in that process. We like it like this because for their mind, when they produced a child, it was them. That was their immortality because the child they produced was almost an exact copy of themselves. So now they resisted. That was gender at that time. No, we're gonna do that. And the other problem is that would cause a fundamental change in the language. A fundamental change in the language. That's where language come in. Because you had the genderless language, and Arabic, which is the original language, is the most gender-based language on the planet. Everything there says is gender. See? So that means the language had to fundamentally change. That's where language come in. See? Because now you talk about male, female, everything has to be identified as male, female, whatever. It fundamentally changed. And that's what that's about. So the Gentiles said, we don't want to do that. They resisted. See, they refused to do it. And that's what so they said, well, we're gonna keep we leave things. It's always been like that way. It's been like that 20 years. We're not gonna change it, right? And the other group said, no, we're gonna go with this process. See, because the earth was under a lot of tension. Remember, the tension was building up. So that's why the female, right, her reproductive cycle is tied to the moon. You see how the pieces fit together? That's why reproductive cycle is tied to the moon, because both of them came in actually as a result of that process, right? That's what caused the tension that brought the moon into existence. They try to blow the planet up. And then so everything from then on, right? Animals and everything, gender. That's how they come about. So now you know how the male and female came about, and then this process continued, and get more and more animals, right? And also the animals, right? We bring animals from ourselves. Remember, you fit the rubber band, that's two parts. Smaller part, I mean, the more tension, right? It's two parts, but a bigger piece comes out every time. The tension increases, but then those pieces also get attention. So like you have different versions of birds, different versions of cats, right? Different versions, but they're all birds. See? So that puts into this lie about evolution. See? That's how everything came out of us. And we became more distinct, more refined, until we have right now, we're at our most refinedest state ever. I know you can't see it right now because, you know, we're like diamonds in a trash can. All you see is the trash. You don't see a diamond. No, diamonds are made uh, under a lot of dirt, a lot of pressure. And when you go dig them out, you got to pull, you got to go find them, and plus then you got to, wash the dirt off of them. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. So I try to get you to understand how the creation process works, from the beginning to the end, and back to the beginning, right? How the female and male came to be, how KV came to be, because he's the last thing that we pulled out of ourselves, and who you are, and who you should understand who you are, and what time it is. So I try to put all of that in this little short presentation here. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. When I say you the gods, we're not kidding. See? And you're greater than the prophets. So it's up to you. He said you got a whole world. You got everything. You got more than any prophet had. You have access to everybody on the planet. See, you got every kind of playground. You want to call it playground to work in, right? They give you Instagram. They give you what, Twitter, um, Facebook, YouTube, right? Podcasts, email, cell phones. No other prophet ever had that. Elijah Muhammad didn't have that. And you got the wisdom. No other prophet had that in the past either. And the book. See? Now you got the book, you can go out and prophesy, because all you got to study the book. You can study all you want and prophesy all you want. It's up to you. See? Do you understand, brothers and sisters? And just like we remember the first God, they're remembering us. See? Because we're going to war with the darkness. Are you ready to go to war with the darkness? Injil Warriors, are you ready to go to war with the darkness? Because I've been in war with the darkness 30 years. More than 30 years now. It looked like the darkness in trouble. To me, the darkness in trouble. Something's causing all this problem. Things don't happen by themselves. Things don't, this ain't just happening by itself. Like I said, how do you know the wind is blowing? Because you see the trees shaking, you see the branches, you see the weed, the leaves falling. So something's causing all this to happen. Something's confusing. It don't happen by itself. We don't be mystery gods. It's up to you, brothers and sisters. The world is yours. The world is yours. The world is yours. Put on your battle gear, grab your sword, and go to work. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Remember, Farad, he's your God. He's my God. He's our God. I'm just a high priest, bringing good news to you, brothers and sisters. That's why I said, I'm marvelous, the one that brings good news. Isn't that what the angel means, good news? That's what the gospel's called, good news. I'm bringing the good news, brothers and sisters. I'm bringing the good news to you. And it's just going to get better and better every day. Because darkness is back. That's why I'm being in darkness. It's back on its heels. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Because your God is in action. You see him all over the world now. He's making more manifest. He's coming to get you, brothers and sisters. You're going home. Assalamu alaikum.